Okay, so today we're going to talk about commas before and. We seem to really like to put them there every time, all the time, and that is simply not necessary. So here's what you're going to do. Make sure you have this sheet with you if you are going to, or in order to follow along, if you need to push pause, go ahead and do that. You'll also need some sort of writing utensils per usual. I like different colors because they make me happy. Okay, so as we go ahead and get started on here, we are looking at commas before and there's two different times that you can put a comma before and. The first time is if there's a complete sentence on both sides of the and when you cover it up with your finger. Okay, so for example, I need to get milk from the store. If I were to cover that up, because there's my and right here, I'm going to highlight both of them while I have it. If I cover this up, there is a complete sentence on both sides. I need to get milk from the store. I need to make my friend's birthday cake. So because there's a complete sentence on both sides of that and, I need a comma before it. Okay. The other one is kind of an optional, like hot debate with, grammarians. So take that as you will. However, in a list of 3 or more items, there is a comma right here called the Oxford comma. It is not necessary anymore. Some people swear by it and put that comma there all the time. Some people don't. So this one's kind of a choice comma. I like it because I feel like it separates out everything in the sentence, but I am not queen of grammar, so you can take that as you will. I do see look, my queen of grammarness here where I ended a sentence with a comma. Apparently I was comma happy on this sheet. So this weekend I went to Edge Gym, a friend's birthday party, and a soccer tournament. I like the Oxford comma because it separates out all 3 items that I do, or 5 or whatever. Remember, we don't want to go much more than 5, otherwise we're kind of getting listy. But again, it is an unnecessary comma, but some people swear by it and love it. So I'm presenting it to you, and then you can kind of start making those decisions for yourself, those grammar decisions. So let's go ahead and start practicing. We have these sentences here. The first thing I'm going to do is use my highlighter. I'm going to go through all of the sentences and simply look for and so I can figure out what I'm dealing with. Okay, so I have an and here. In the next sentence, it's right here. Okay, so if you need to pause, go ahead and do that. All I'm doing is highlighting the ands in each sentence. There's one there. There's one there. Here's one here. That one has 3. There. Okay, so you can see that I have my ands highlighted, which makes me ready to go ahead and get started. So as I'm looking at the different items, I need to decide, do I look like I kind of have sentences or am I in a list? Because if you're in a list, it's a different set of rules than if you're in a complete sentence. So as I look at the first sentence here, it says, I need to go to the store to get deli meat, cheese, and bread for lunches. Okay, so here I know that it is a list. Okay, so I'm going to look at that. And then does the list have 3 or more ideas? Meat, cheese, bread. So yes, it does, which means before this and, I can go ahead and put in that comma. Again, this is the Oxford comma. It is not a necessary comma, but I like it because it separates meat, cheese, bread instead of putting cheese and bread together like peanut butter and jelly. So okay, let's take a look at the next one, and we got to determine, are we looking to see if there's a sentence on both sides or is it in a list of 3 or more? I get to redo my bedroom this weekend, and I am thinking about the theme I want. Okay, so we don't see a list, which means we need to see if there is a complete sentence on both sides. Go ahead and cover up and. Okay, I get to redo my bedroom this weekend. That's a complete sentence or an independent clause. I am thinking about the theme I want. Also a complete sentence or independent clause. Therefore, since there is a complete sentence on both sides of the and, I do need that comma before and. Okay? Okay? All right, let's take a look at the third one. Why do we need to practice our work in class and at home for homework? Okay, so I don't have a list of 3 or more items, which means I need to check to see if it's a complete sentence on both sides. So go ahead and cover up the and. Okay, and let's read the beginning part. Why do we need to practice our work in class? Complete sentence, independent clause? Yes, that could stand by itself. Let's look at the end. At home for homework. Right, so that is not a complete sentence, and therefore we do not need the comma there. This is just and, no comma. It's just linking two ideas together. Okay? Let's take a look at the next one. We have 3 different ands in here, so we need to see what each of them are doing. So here I have my sister and I like to sit around on the couch. There isn't a list, and if I cover it up, my sister is not a sentence. So I know that there is no comma required here with this and, okay? Because it's not in a list of 3 or more, and there's my sister is not a complete sentence, and therefore it cannot stand by itself, okay? Let's go down to this end. My sister and I like to sit around on the couch watching movies on the weekend and eat tons. So it's these ideas of linking the 2 things that the sisters like to do. So if I cover this up, okay, there's no list here yet, okay? They're not making a list of things that they're doing, okay? So if I cover up and, my sister and I like to sit around on the couch watching movies on the weekend, complete sentence, right? Independent clause. Eat tons of popcorn, gummy bears, and ice cream. Not a sentence, okay? So even though it's really long, like sometimes we see it, we're like, it's so long, I definitely need a comma. You don't need a comma. Okay, because if I cover it up, eat tons of popcorn, gummy bears, and ice cream is not a complete sentence unless I'm telling you to do it, which gets into a whole other issue. But in this case, not a sentence. Okay, now we have this and here. So we eat tons of popcorn, gummy bears, and ice cream. Is this going to be the list, or do I need to cover up for sentence? So you should see that there's a list because I have popcorn, gummy bears, and ice cream. Okay, so since I have 3 items in this list, I can put this comma in right here. Again, it's called the Oxford comma, and it is an unnecessary if you do not like that comma, but I want to make sure that you know that you can put it in there. All right, we have 1 sentence left to practice with. We're going to look at it. My parents are letting me cook dinner this weekend, and I am doing some research about different meal options since I love to cook. Okay, so if I go to this and, I don't see 3 or more ideas in a list. So that's not what I'm looking at here. So I'm going to cover and look to see if there's a complete sentence on both sides of the comma, or on the and. So my parents are letting me cook dinner this weekend. Is that a complete sentence? Good. So that's a complete sentence, independent clause. It can stand by itself. Let's look after. I am doing some research about different meal options since I love to cook. Complete sentence? Yes. And so since there is a complete sentence on both sides of the and, I do need that comma there. Okay. So to review, commas are not necessary every time. Okay, there are only 2 times really that you need that comma before the and. The first one is if you cover it and there's a complete sentence on both sides because it is joining 2 independent or complete sentences, 2 independent clauses or complete sentences. The second time is if you want to put it before the and in a comma with a list of 3 or more ideas. It's called the Oxford comma. It is optional. However, some people swear by it and some people don't. What I want for you to do now is I want for you to go into your journal and I want for you to find a page where you can highlight all of the ands that you have on that page. Highlight, circle, however you want to mark them. And I want for you to then go back and identify your comma usage. Do you need a comma? Okay, so if it's in a list, you have to decide if you're using the Oxford comma. It's kind of an all or nothing. You can't choose when you use it. It's you use it or you don't. Okay. Or do you need to cover and see if there's a complete sentence on both sides? If you cover and there's not a complete sentence on both sides, you need to erase your comma, mark off your comma, or don't add the comma in. Okay? All right, when you finish, go ahead and bring it to me. Show me what you've done, and I look forward to seeing it.